Comedic gold. What more can I say? Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1985 to look at something that is so perfect in every way, from comedy to horror, you name it. Return of the Living Dead. Before we go any further, before we dig into this absolute phenomenal gem, once again, and as always, to the trailer.
They only come out at night. They're mean, rude, and dead. Not them. Them.
There's 100 of those things out there.
How many did you say?
100.
The dead are refusing to remain buried.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna call the boss.
They've come back to life. They're hungry. And they're not vegetarians.
The graveyard out there's full of people coming out of the ground.
We have a little problem.
What the hell is going on there?
Rabbit weasels.
What?
More brains.
Do you want party? It's party time. We got party. It's party time. Do you want party?
They're back from the grave and ready to party.
It's party time.
The return of the living dead.
Alright, this motion picture was directed by Dan O'Bannon. Should know the name. You probably know the name. Let's kick it. Yeah, he directed other stuff. He did, The Resurrected and crap, but that's really not where his forte lies. He was really a writer, and he wrote a lot of screenplays and shit like that, and he did stuff like, Alien and Blue Thunder and Life Force and Total Recall. And if you remember way back in the day, he was all in there tight with John Carpenter on Dark Stars. So, been around, passed away years ago. Character, came up with some brilliant ideas, is what it was. Not much of a directing career, but that doesn't matter. We got this from him. That's all that counts. Okay, here we go. Playing Burt, Clu Gulager. Let's hit it. We're talking about he's been in stuff like The Last Picture Show, and The Killers, and A Force of One. God, I love that old Chuck Norris flick. And McHugh, and The Hidden, and Tapeheads, and I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, and Piranha 3D Double D, and every TV show from, Knight Rider to Street Hawk. So, Clu Gulager was around for a long time, did a lot of shit, was all over the place. Let's keep moving. Playing Frank! And goddamn, he is phenomenal in this. James Karen. Let's get rolling. We're talking about he was in stuff like Poltergeist and Take This Job and Shove It, if anybody even remembers that. And Capricorn 1, which I already reviewed, and Fist, and The China Syndrome, and The Jazz Singer, and Francis, and Time Walker, and Invaders from Mars, and about a cajillion television shows. I mean, if you see his face and you don't remember him, you weren't fucking alive at that point in time. Just the way it is. Playing Ernie! Don Calfa! Come on, man. I think I talked about him back when we did Foul Play and shit. This guy, I love this fucking dude. Let's kick it into gear. We're talking about he was in stuff like 1941, and The Rose, and 10, and New York, New York. And I already said Foul Play, Stay Tuned, yeah, Stay Tuned, and Bugsy, and The Presidio, and Weekend at Bernie's, and Dr. Doolittle, and Cinderella Liberty. So, again, kind of like James Karen. You had to know his face. If you were alive at that point in time, you know that man's face. All right, playing Freddy, Thom Mathews. This is some shit you might recognize him from. Let's go. We're talking about he was in Friday the 13th, Part 6. He was in Nemesis and Kickboxer 4 and The Peacemaker and Mean Guns and Blood Match. Born to Ride, and Alien from L.A., and he was actually in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, playing a different character. Made no sense. Fuck it, we don't care. Let's keep moving. Playing Tina, Beverly Randolph. Yeah, not much of a career, honestly, but she was in a few things. We're talking about she was in Death House, and No Solicitors, But really, in all honesty, just it is what it is. Her career is pretty much non-existent. I mean, you might see her pop up sometimes talking about this motion picture or maybe at a Comic-Con or some shit like that. But this is it, folks. Playing suicide. He's pretty fucking funny in this, too. Was Mark Venturini. Now, he was in some other stuff. Maybe you remember. He was in Friday the 13th, The New Beginning. And on TV, he was in Charles in Charge and Knight Rider and Murder, She Wrote and Falcon Crest, and he was on Fantasy Island. But he died very, very young. Very, very young. Not very long after he made this motion picture. He got leukemia, passed away. So kind of a shame. Sad situation is what it is, but he'll always be in this. Playing trash! And carrying all the nude scenes in this motion picture, bless her heart, is B-movie queen Linnea Quigley. Just listen to these titles, folks. We're talking about she was in stuff like Creepazoid and Sex Bomb and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers and Night of the Demons and Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bowl-a-Rama and Graduation Day. You get it. You get it. She was in a bunch of movies where she ran around, she screamed, and she got naked. It's what she did. It's what she's known for. She was in a fuckload of those motion pictures back in the 80s and 90s, and it is what it is. Bless her little heart. And right next to her, playing Casey, was Jules Shepard, who, ironically, Dan O'Bannon got to know because she was a stripper at a strip joint he used to go to all the time. Just the way it is, folks. But she was in some other stuff. We're talking about she was in things like Hollywood Hot Tubs and Party Camp and Roots of Evil and My Tutor and Mission Kill Fast. And she was in Hollywood Hot Tubs Part 2. And really, the Hollywood Hot Tub flicks will always be her memory because she was the girl that couldn't stop doing this when she was taught. Whatever, you get the idea. Let's move on. And playing Spider, Miguel Núñez. Now, actually, he's had a fucking big career. Really, he's been in a lot of shit. Let's get rolling. We're talking about he was in stuff like Harlem Nights and Street Fighter and on TV and like Tour of Duty and Hanging with Mr. Cooper and The Faculty and Sparks and Tarzan and Joey and Nashville. I mean, he's not a big star, but he's worked a lot and popped up in a lot of shit. So, hey, good for him. Can't knock it. Okay, everybody, we're going to try to do this in 90 seconds or less. We can go fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, so we can get to the place we would all much rather be and have most of our fun, the summation. Let's kick it. You got Frank. You got Freddy. Frank is showing Freddy around on his first day at the job at this little place called the Unita Medical Supply Company. Well, he's showing him all the devices, all the supplies, wheelchairs, split dogs, you know, the normal kind of thing you see on your first day on a job. And then he tells Freddy about these special canisters in the basement. He tells him that the movie Night of the Living Dead was actually based on a real event. Kind of loosely. And when he goes down there to show Freddy the bodies that are in these containers that the military screwed up and just left in this goddamn supply company, what happens? The canister breaks open. Cadavers come back to life. Split dogs start barking. They don't know what to do. They call the boss. The boss says, hey, I got an idea. I got a friend next door. He has a crematorium. We're going to burn these fucking things, get rid of the evidence, and life will go on. They do this. But when they do, the smoke goes up the chimney, it comes down in the rain, and it activates every dead fucking body in the cemetery, which just happens to be where all Freddy's friends have been hanging out waiting for him to get out of work. They're partying, they're dancing, they're stripping, they're doing all the normal things that one does in a cemetery when you're broke and 20 years old. Hey, just the way it goes. They all get attacked by the dead. They run over for help to the crematorium. Everybody joins forces, and the movie keeps taking off from there. That's basically the whole gist of it, folks. There's not much more than that. You get it. You get it. And, oh, yeah, the Army, by the way, you see them pop up now and then because they've been looking for these canisters that have been missing for the last 20 years. But they can't find them. Who the fuck knows? Whatever. Let's get to the summation. Okay, everybody. Why does this motion picture work? And yes, this motion picture works on every level. It is just a AAA production from top to bottom. First off, it is funnier than all living hell. I remember the first time I seen this flick, I was literally laying on the couch with my friends, laughing and dying, saying, what the fuck? This is perfect. It was one of those motion pictures that perfectly lampooned its own genre without disrespecting its own genre. There's certain movies where you say, oh, okay, they're ripping on this kind of a genre, and why are they even here doing this? This is a movie that lived in that and yet perfectly saluted it, much like you would get from The Evil Dead 2, or much like you would even get from something like Student Bodies to a degree, or even some sports movies, slapshotting into their little world. What this movie does is it delivers on what it's supposed to be, a horror action flick, and makes it funny at the same time without shitting on the genre. It makes it entertaining and just takes a lighter angle and says, let's have some fun with it. And that is the best kind of comedy you could ever hope to see. Dan Bannon, listen, he didn't direct a bunch of shit. He wrote a bunch of shit. Or he did the screenplay for a bunch of shit. But he didn't direct a lot of shit. But he directs this motion picture effectively, solidly, and does a really, really, really good job. The cast. Okay. This is not a motion picture blasted with A-list stars. We get it. We know that. We accept it. It is what it is. But this cast delivers and is funny as fucking hell. James Cameron is hilarious as Frank in this. Go look at the bodies. Just the little things that he would do. Brilliant. Clu Gulager, always good in everything he does. Phenomenal in this. And the young cast is just top flight in this. For people that weren't maybe known for being comedians or comedic, they all do a great job. Okay, Jules Shepard lays it on a little bit thick here and there, but she ain't really an actress, whatever. We'll roll past that. But they all do a phenomenal job. The effects are on par with any other zombie flick that you could ever want to find or any time hope to see. So it ain't like they cheesed out on that. The sets look good. The locations look good. Everything about it screams great zombie flick, but with a little bit of comedy. Also, they really developed their own subgenre in this motion picture. Really, because it was one of those movies that, if memory serves, there was no such thing as zombies hunting brains until this thing came along. And it was kind of like they just added to the lure of zombiedom that's kind of almost continued to a degree here and there to this very day. It was kind of like, in used cars when they said, red cars are bad luck. And they were just like, well, we fucking made that up for the movie. It doesn't even exist. And before you know it, people on the street saying, fucking red cars are bad luck. It was that kind of thing. It just stuck. Did I say stuck? I meant stuck. And it just lived on even longer into history than the motion picture did. It was just kind of crazy that it happened that way. Are there negatives to the motion picture? How do you really have negatives in a motion picture like this? If there's something goofy in it, it's just part of the flick. It just goes without saying. It is some of the movie. So I can't even really cite any negatives in this. Okay, there's a couple scenes where the overacting is just a little bit hammy, but look at the fucking movie. It fits. It's supposed to be hammy. It's supposed to be over the top. So even in the midst of everything going on, if you see something that just looks like, oh my God, it doesn't make a difference because the whole fucking movie is oh my God. If there's any sad part or bad part to this motion picture, it was just that right after it, Mark Venturini passed away. Because really, as Suicide, he is fucking hilarious in this motion picture. You know what I mean? You can see this guy who's supposed to be a big hulking guy who's kind of played the big hulking guy a little bit, but he was funny as shit in the parts he did in this movie. The way that he would always add an insult to every line, I'm sure it was in the script, but the way that he delivered it, and the way that he even had those moments in the cemetery with Linnea Quigley, when she's like coming all on to him, and he's like doing his speech, and he kind of throws her to the side. The comedic perfection of the way he did that was just top fucking nuts. I think the guy probably would have had a much better career if he had lived. It's just a shame what happened and how it happened. Anyway, everybody, if you get a shot, no matter what, if you're not a horror fan, it does not make a difference. You will still enjoy this motion picture because of the absurdity and the humor. Yes, there's some gore. Yes, there's some blood. Yes, there's a few parts that make you go, ugh. But if you can just handle and stomach that, again, even if you're not a zombie flick fan, even if you're not a horror fan, this movie will be thoroughly entertaining, thoroughly engaging. You're going to laugh your ass off numerous points in it. Yeah, it's not a movie for the kids. Yeah, there's a lot of like nudity in it. Yeah, there's a lot of violence, but it is great. All right, everybody, once and again, and as always, be good. Stay out of trouble. Always look out for a friend. Always take care of your family. Always be kind to a stranger. And above all else, the number one thing on the list, never, ever take any bullshit from anybody. See you soon.